Hi guys, my name is Diana and this is the Creativity Incorporated channel where you guys will find some a lot of journaling stuff. But welcome if you're new. To recap, I recently started my Patreon subscription of this channel, and I made a few journals with the theme of mushrooms. And I am on the first journal that I drew or painted some mushrooms, and for those that become patrons, the pictures will be available for download for the Patreon in the Patreon page. A link will be down below. And also, I also did a raffle because I show you how I made the mushrooms and the crystals to decorate this book that I'm showing you here, and also the little art piece. And I'm gonna do a giveaway to the in between the patrons that subscribe for the month of November. But I was very lucky and I have 2 subscribers. Yay! So because I feel so blessed and so excited that I get support from you guys, I will not be doing a giveaway. I mean, not a raffle giveaway. I will just be sending each of you ladies a packet, or not a packet, or a few of the mushrooms and a few of the crystals and a few of the wax pieces for your journaling experience. Rather than raffle it between both of you, I will give you one each. So just because I'm very grateful for you guys, and I'm grateful for all of you guys that that watch my channel and make those beautiful comments and subscribed and give me that thumbs up. It really does encourage me. I do put a lot of love into everything that I make for you guys, and it encourages me when you guys give me all of your love. So as you guys see, I will be giving you guys some wax seal stamps for my Crayolas, and all those mushrooms and the frames and everything that you see here on that. I will give you guys one each. Anyways, moving forward with today's or this month's theme is tools, as you guys saw earlier. And I'm going to start with the toolbox, or in our world would be the book cover. For this particular shape and this particular toolbox, I have created a template, as I showed you earlier. This is to mimic my toolbox. Actually, everything that I drew here is inspired on the real tools. And this is kind of like a close-up of how I did the corners. The template shows you how and where to cut, and which one to cut and which one to fold. So there's different lines on the template, but in any case, you could do any shape of toolbox that inspires you. In my case, I really wanted to go traditional on the toolbox shape. Well, I don't know if it's traditional, but I guess I'm used to seeing these kind of shape of boxes. Oh, just a reminder, and you'll probably hear me reminding you again, this kind of like waxy kind of paper or coating, remember to score before you glue. In my case, I score over and over because I know what is not to score, and it becomes a mess, and then things fall apart, and then they don't look ugly. And I love the journals that I make. So to make this little corner, I use the little wings that are left over from the fold of the sides, and I use it to reinforce my corner. So I'm going to put a little once I fold it in, I kind of like fold to make it's kind of like the box, the present box. I fold, then I use that little edge on the corner. But see how it kind of beveled corner? This is the top. On the bottom part, or it's the bottom of the box, but then the back of the book. You guys know what I mean? I didn't do that beveled edge that you guys see in this one. This is the top, or the lid, or the front of the book. And so I feel like it looks cuter and because I didn't want to go through all that trouble that I did to make that, I only did it on the front. I only glued or taped or united the three sides, and the fourth side is what I'm going to use as sort of like the spine or hinge, if you will, of the book. So only remember to glue 3 of the sides and cut off the little wing parts that you usually would tuck in on the corners, and I just cut it off so I have a clean hinge or a clean spine of my books. Now in this one, because I have that beveled edge and it required a little bit of extra cutting, I'm going to use these little scraps of that same file folder in my book, and I'm gonna use it to reinforce the corners. I'm gonna score both sides, the little corner and the receiving corner, I guess you could say. And so I'm going to glue those just to reinforce it. I don't know if it would probably look cuter if I would have used another color, but you know, I guess is another option you guys have to make it a little color. I think it would have looked probably cute if I did like maybe a brown, you know, kind of give it that reinforcement, but also make it be more book-like inside. But because I have another idea for the inside, I didn't do another color. You guys will see right now what I do with it. My next step is to give it a like an indentation of the like an oval that's in the center of where the handle rests, or like a little concave, or is it concave, whatever, where the handle rests or hides. So I know this is the frame that I use for the mushroom art, and it's just a perfect oval, and I used it, and what I did is I just pressed it on down from the opposite end, and I just went around over and over and over again with this, in my case, with this little back of is it a knife? And look, see how it's a perfect oval for that. So my next step is to I traced. Yeah, that's the word, traced. The handle, is it handle holder? I think I'm all out of English today. It's like 12 o'clock my time right now as I'm recording this, and like I'm forgetting to speak, I guess, or even breathe. But I traced it, and then what I did is I kind of cleaned it up a little bit so that I can retrace it to the cardstock that I'm going to use to hold my handle itself. But you know, I didn't use metal. I'm going to use cardboard, and then paint it so it looks metal. But I am going to use the like a metal wire to do as a handle, and hopefully it matches together and it looks like they're both metal. But you could have used the can, like you know how I use a soda can, or in my case Rockstar can, and matched it. But I felt like it would not have matched as good with the cardboard, just because I know how to paint the cardboard so it looks closer to the colors that these little wire had already. And because I already knew the wire that I wanted to use for this project. And anyways, to give it a little bit of more detail, I'm going through the back and pushing forward another like kind of like indentation, so that the cardboard kind of tucks in or folds in or bevels in. I wish I knew the word. If you guys know what I'm talking about, could you let me know, because I think I talk about this more than not, and I want to know what it is. Is it just, I think it's just rounding edges, right? Like rounding down. So I go to the opposite side so I can round it down to the other side. And then what I do is I marked where the wire would go through, so that I'm able to I'm just pretty much mimicking what the toolbox says. So if it says that it has an indentation for the wire, I'm putting one. And to put it down, I tried to do the rivets. I wasn't liking it. So what I did is, I don't forget to score. Anyways, what I did is I casted. I made a mold of some screw heads, and I casted them on resin when I was doing my mushrooms. I had a little bit of extra resin, and I just used that side of my molds. I like to make molds for that require very little bit of resin. So when I'm casting, like in this case, I was casting mushrooms, and I have, you have those few drops extra. I always just throw it in on my screw mold, and I always have like little screws, synthetic screw heads running around so that I can use it on my project. And in my case, I don't think they were even matched the same screws, but they looked cool. And so I painted them black. Then I kind of like rubbed in a little bit of gold. In my box they are the same color metal, and they're not like screws or like rivets. But this is where I take my artistic what is it called, twist on it, and I decided I wanted a little bit of accent color, and I like how the contrast of the silver and the gold looks, so that's why I'm going with gold screw heads. Once I had both of my covers, I scored. Don't forget to score. And in this case, I'm scoring on one. I'm scoring the front, and the other one I'm scoring the back. Don't forget to do that little detail, because then you'll have like weird looking scores everywhere. Trust me, I'm talking from experience. You score one side, opposite ends. And so what was I saying? Oh yeah, once you score both sides, then what I did is, when I was marking my template, I make sure I left like one side long, or like more space on one side than the other, because I knew I had to do a hinge side. And so when you're tracing your template on your media, or like in my case it was like a file folder, I try to leave more space on one side than the other, because that's kind of like the thickness of your paper. I mean, you could always just do an add-on, or an extra piece of paper, but in my case I planned ahead, and I did I did an extra long side, just so I can use it as the hinge, or in our case, spine. Now this little divider, like craft divider, is part of the folder. Like inside the blue folders, there's like a divider, and this is it. So you see that little metal? I'm going to use that part just because I like the little metal piece. I'm going to attempt, well, I do make it, twist story, or twist plot, whatever. I do make a little, when you open a toolbox and it comes like a little shelf, is like not floating, but like comes down on the toolbox, and I wanted to make it out of this cardstock that came inside that same folder. My purpose, I could have used another blue folder, but my purpose was to make everything and one in the book from one folder. And so my goal was, because I stuck to my gold, it didn't bother me that it was a different color than the box. So I know I wanted to be this, like the box, but in this case it was fine. I made a box so that, with the same principle in my head, that I wanted to kind of cut the edges and fold them. Cut the corners, fold them in. It's sort of like when you're wrapping the cover of a book. You're folding it on inside, and on the corners you fold one side longer and you tuck it in so that it straightens the corners. Once I did that, I wanted to kind of like in the toolbox, I noticed it had like rivets on the corners, and instead of rivets I'm going to use eyelets. And on what I did is what I do is make a hole on one and then mark it so I can do the hole on the other, rather than like trying to worry and making a hole on both sides at the same time. Never works out on my end. And so I'm putting the rivet, but I wanted to show you how I do it when like the corners are hard or they're really hard to access. What I do is I grab my tweezers and I kind of fold the back of the eyelid, and then I would press it down, and if you can like hammer it in, it would probably be better. But in my case, I just grabbed it with the tweezers and kind of flour the back of the eyelid, and it works just as good as if you were to do it with the crocodile. After many tries, this is what I came up with to make my little shelf drawer kind of stand out. So it's a simple, I guess it wasn't simple back when I started. I was trying to make it all complicated, and it had like all these bends and joints and stuff, but in reality it's just two equal lengths of pieces of material and an eyelid in the middle. Now do not squeeze the eyelid in the middle so hard. It's actually very like a little tap with the crocodile. Like you want it as loose as possible so that the more flexible it is. You can adjust it like I did right here. I adjusted it with my tweezers, or you can readjust it with the crocodile, but do not squeeze it so hard because you want that flexibility of sort of like a hinge. Now this is another thing. When you are using eyelids and the parts are gonna be kind of like in my case mobile, you want to use the front of the eyelid on the part that kind of like passes through the other part, like they're squeezing through each other. Because if you use the back of the eyelid, that flower part in the back, or that bumpy side on the back, gets caught up on the with the other parts, the other moving parts, and or it starts like scraping it, and then it starts like looking ugly. So I'm telling you, because it took me forever to figure this out, and I figured all these things out. Trust me, I speak from experience. People, what does it say? Do as I tell you, not as I do. So, but anyways, in this case, I'm just showing you my successful part rather than bored you here with the 3 hours of non-successful. Anyways, here I am scoring the little piece that I want to attach on the back of my cover. Not back. What is it called? The inside of the cover. In my case is the inside of the box. So make sure that everything folds really good, that you know where you're going to attach this. In my case, what I did is I scored it and I put glue on there. And then I put glue once I knew where to fold it, where the glue went. What I did is I just scored it over the glue. Like there's a glue there, and I scored it even though there was glue there. Or you could also mark it as well. You could do it both ways. In my case, you could I thought I did the other way. I mean, I recorded this about a week ago, or maybe 2 now, but excuse me, I'm losing my voice. But you could do it both ways. Like I said, I've done it both ways, where you could put the glue and now you've marked where the piece is gonna go, and then just scored it. Even with the glue on there, it would you'll make a little bit of mess, but at least you'll know exactly where to make the mess at. You know what I mean? And here it is. This is how it should look like. I'm gonna let it glue overnight, and then you can play with it longer. Put a little bit of weight on there. Ideally, you want to leave it 24 hours for this kind of glue. In my case, I don't know if I had that time. I never have that time actually. So let it glue overnight, and then you can. It's good to work the next day. You also have to do these kind of hinges on the inside of the part that kind of goes close to the book, and there's a finished piece. For the inside of the book, I didn't know how to bind it. I have made all these kind of like tool things that go on here. This ephemera folder, or this folder, has this ruler, and then I used it to make pockets on the ruler. I made other rulers. I made jars, you know, because you put all the screws in jars and stuff. I made little shelves. I made wood slices, or no, tree slices. I have made rulers, and they're all measured, so they are kind of accurate. This is an old drill. I've made old screws and old nails. Now, I didn't rust anything. None of my screws, none of my tools are rusted. I left that option for later. Or in this case, this is the kit for the month of December, and I'm gonna scan and take pictures of all these tools for available to download for those that choose to subscribe to this channel. All of these tools will be available for you to print on your side, and you can make your own toolbox journal. But I'll leave that up to you. If you guys want me to make a tutorial how to rust them, or how I would rust them, let me know, and I would gladly show you, or maybe even make a little video for my subscribers on my Patreon channel, and I would rust them there for you. But these are all not rusted. Actually, they all have like that little gold. You guys see that gold stamp, and it's all Creativity Inc. brand of tools. Wish come true for reals. Imagine, I've always dreamed of having my tools branded. That would be so cool. But I drew these tags. I try to make you guys tags. These are plier tag, a press tag, and a saw tag, my tool shed tag. And these are all hand drawn by me. I actually hand drew them on a file folder, as you guys can see here. I try to use file folders because file folders I get very often, and I like how they look on my journals. I know I could do water paper or other kinds of paper, but if you guys see me, most of the stuff that I do, most of the journals that I do, I always use file folders. I don't know why. Am I weird? Am I the only one that uses this much file folder for their journals? Anywho, for the binding, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to make like a book inside the book, sort of. So I'm going to make like an inner cover, inner cover, yeah. So this one I'm gonna fold it like if it was a book. So I'm gonna fold it into 3 pieces, and then bind my pages onto this. Once I have the shape of the folder, not the folder, but the kind of like the cover of the book that's going to go inside the box, I am going to make sort of like a little indentation as to where I want the pages to be folded in. And in reality, you don't have to do this. You can just put a binding on the actual spine of the toolbox, but I didn't want it to look like a book. Well, I do, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see the signatures. I don't want to see the binding. I don't want to see none of that on the toolbox, And so but I do want it to look like a book at the same time. I don't want it to be obvious. I guess that's the word what I was going for. So I made this inner cover so that I can attach my signatures onto here, and it still looked like a box on the outside. I made a saw, and I had a kind of idea of how I wanted to incorporate it onto my toolbox. I like how the fact that sometimes you can see tools kind of coming out of the toolbox. So I made this saw specifically with the idea of kind of having it stick out to the side and to the top. Now remember, if you're going to store this book or this journal standing up, you want to keep away from sticking tools out of the bottom part of the book. Just kind of FYI, because I thought ahead about that, and you see the handle of my book, I mean the saw, it kind of just barely touches the back. And I have this textile scissors that has that zigzag kind of deal, and so I'm using that to kind of resemble my saw cutting through my paper. Don't you love it? I love how it came out. Now you guys see I made the saw a little taller, so what I do at some point, I don't know if it'll show, but I do cut it a little bit shorter just because it was like extruding too much out. I liked it at the beginning when I first drew it, but then as I was making the journal, you'll probably see that it'll end up being a little shorter than what it looks like now. And look how you can see the saw for both sides. I just fell in love with it. I just thought it was the darnest thing that I did this. Oh man, I don't know what I was thinking or if I dreamt about this, but I was like, oh my gosh, I wanted to make a saw, and then I was like, imagine the saw is cutting through like the paper, like, oh. Anyways, I know, enough of cheering myself up. I made a bunch of signatures, a bunch of like, it's not signature, but I mean it is a signature, and I made one of each to make the resemblance of like different tools, like different one of each of these folders remind me of certain tools. Like for example, this one's like the nail and the hammer. So what I'm going to do is grab all my little nails that I made, and I'm going to, what I end up doing is putting a little bit of foam in the back, or you can do one of those 3D squares, or maybe even the same cardboard, put a little bit extra, but I just didn't want it to look flat, and I made a little shadow to it. So the acetate, I made a little what is it, like, you know how in a shop you go and like chances are like there's a Gerber or some kind of jar somewhere with screws or nails, and that's kind of where I was going for. I made a little shelves for my Gerber jars, and I put my screws and my nails in there. And what you guys did see earlier is a pop-up with the hammer, so when you open it, it looks like it's hammering. And that little piece that I use that's in the back of that hammer is the template for that is also going to be available for my patrons to download and use. I will probably be putting up a little video as to how you do it for my patrons, and to use that little template that I do there. But you could probably figure it out if you look up enough videos of pop-ups. You could probably figure it out too. So don't feel like you must be Patreon, but you must. I promise I'm gonna work really hard for my patrons. I don't know about me putting up the videos like every first of the month on the Patreon page, but I'm working, and I have all these ideas for my patrons to have fun and to be excited to be part of my channel membership. I want to make it very special for you, and if you are considering subscribing, I know right now my content is probably not the best for my patrons, but it will get better, and all your help and support is very much appreciated. Anyways, enough advertisement. Not advertising, but I'm putting on my heart for you guys here in my journals, and I just want you to know I'm very, very grateful for all your support. So here you see me putting every folder that's decorated or has a theme. I don't know if every folder, well, it is a signature. I am treating each folder as its own signature, but I guess I could have bundled like maybe 2 per signature, but I really wanted to have each folder its theme or its tool usage, kind of in a way. And here's how I made the tools. There's no rhyme or reason other than I put a tool in front of me and I kind of like mimic it. But some tools you can trace, like some handles and stuff like that. Others, you can just kind of make up tools. Maybe I can make a toolbox with made up tools. Like, what if, like, oh, you know what? It'd be a good idea. Like, what if Dr. Seuss made up tools? You know what? I'm going to do research to see if Dr. Seuss made up tools, like on his books. I do have like most of the books. I do have 5 kids, so you know, when you buy one book for one, like you buy them for all of them. So that's kind of what I did. I have a bunch of books because each kid would get like a book or 2 or whatever. But I do want to look up and see if I can maybe find some weird tools and make a toolbox out of the Dr. Seuss tools. That would be an interesting one. Anyways, I'm making a brush, so you know, I'm making a handle. And if you own a brush, this is not the handle for it. See, this is like a fat handle, like a long, fat, weird looking handle. This one is something I made up just for demonstration purposes. And it was kind of simple. It's a brush. The other tools, it took me longer, but I did it in between work hours or whenever I would have a chance. I would make a tool here and there. So it was pretty hard for me to record all of them because I just would come in real quick and make a bunch of them in odd hours. So, but I still wanted to show you how I made a tool. And I did all the pieces separately. So every piece that I knew I wanted to have a different color, I would make it separately. I didn't want it to be like together, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to stand out and make them 3D as much as possible. So I made each part of the tool a different piece altogether. And it made it in my mind, it made it easier because of painting. But I don't know why it made easier for me, you know, like for me to, rather than think I gotta paint the whole brush, okay, I gotta paint it breaks it down like, you know, words, like it breaks it down so that at first I make the handle, then I make the top. So for me, it was easier as I was drawing it or designing the tool, not designing because the tool is not already designed, but you know what I mean, thinking of the tool that I'm going to create. It was easier for me to process it in my head that I was dividing the tools. Anyways, for the silver, I would paint black under. For this, the handle, for me to make a wood grain, I would paint it this like mustardy yellow. Then I would go back with an old stiff brush and kind of scrape on a little bit of brown and not really paint it well, not paint it solid, and kind of scrape away some, you know, just so that it has that grain look. Now this one came out too brown. The other ones that I created has a little bit less brown. I don't know why I put a second coat. Usually the other ones that I did had 1 coat. So if you're gonna do a tool, do 1 coat of brown with an old brush, and it'll give you that wooden grain look to it. Anyways, here I'm going to create that little piece of metal that holds the bristles together of the brush. And to make the bristles, I'm just gonna grab a pencil and draw them in. It was pretty simple how it really does look like bristles of the brush. Now thinking back, you know what I should have done? Diana, you mess up left and right. I should have put a little bit of paint on the brush. You know, like it was freshly dipped, sort of. I don't know. You know what I mean. I think it would have looked fun. Diana, you mess up. But yeah. So if you get your hands on this printable, you could, like I said, you could always add a color to this brush. And what I'm doing here is those little grooves that you find on the paint. Is it paint? Is the paint bristle holder, or I don't know that. And I'm going to also once I have the brush set, you can just glue it together. I have made a Creativity Ink brand stamp, and I'm aware that most brushes don't have a brand stamp, but my brush does have a brand stamp, you know what I mean? Anyway, so once I glued it, I went back with a little bit of water and black and give it a shadow, give it kind of like a 3D of where the where pieces are separated from, so that it looks more three-dimensional than what it actually kind of is. And alrighty, my friends, this is the toolbox. I'm very excited how it came out. Like I said, it has no rust, and I'm kind of missing it, but I wanted to be simple, clean toolbox. Yeah, I'm really happy how it came out. The colors, it's completely up to you, everything, but I really love the blue, how it came out. Anyways, I have the little shelf. I went to Home Depot. I got some pencils. I sanded them. Then I embossed my logo on there. Of course, Creativity ink all the way. And I have these two pencils. I painted. I watered it with watered down brown. If this would focus, with watered down brown, I painted the pencils, and with gold embossing powder, I stamped on my name on there. That was it. And I think I put a little bit of wax on top just so that it protects it and it looks finished. And I did the same thing here with the other pencils, like a very thick pencil that I guess carpenters use, but both of them were from Home Depot. I made a little label because I figured that toolboxes would have the name of the owner of the toolbox. Anyways, I love how it doesn't like pop in and out all the time, but I would like it to open and come down at the same time. So, you win some, you lose some. But every part that I made, all the tools, I tried for the most part for them to still be movable. Some may not be, like this drill. It's not movable, but I made that drill kind of like the C part of the drill is a pocket. I made this tag, this plier tag, and I made it look like another pocket. I used a lot of graph paper for this journal because I've always felt like graph paper goes with toolboxes, and I don't know. What do you guys think? But I also drew that piece of it's the top view of a planer, and I put all the labels of the parts of the planer. And here's a hammer, the hammer pop-up that I was talking to you guys about. Like I said, if you look in my Patreons, it'll show you how this pop-up works. And it gives you I'm gonna give you a template. Don't go today, don't go this weekend. Probably you'll probably see how it's on the paper. How do you do the template? How do you do the pop-up? And the template would be available there. Those jars are there and those little shelves. I also use this other wooden clamp as a pocket, but I put a piece of acetate there to hold my 2 tree slices, and I made it so that it's sort of like a tag, but it kind of like a disc kind of tag ephemera in there. Like I said, I used a lot of graph paper. Now I didn't tea or coffee dye this graph paper, and I like how it looked clean. Overall, there's no tea dyeing in this journal, and I like how it looks clean. It looks like not new, and I don't like that it looks new, but I like the clean that comes with that, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I have this envelope, and I put more graph paper. I felt like I had to put graph paper in everywhere, and I like how it feels. There's the saw. I put measure twice, cut once. Ideally, that's what you want to do. In my world, we kind of eyeball it. And on the other side, to kind of cover a little bit of that like weirdness of the saw on the other side, I put a tool shed there, and I cut one of those 3D screw heads that I did, so it looks like that tool shed sign is nailed to the wall. And I did a saw blade that kind of became a tuck spot, and it also like a fold out page that you can glue stuff there. I put I left some stuff like pages undone or undid, so it's not so busy. But that's where the ruler goes. It's like, I don't know what, I think it's a square. Is this called a square? Yes. So I wanted to make it I wanted to make sure I put that there because I love this little thing. It's so little, so tiny, and I wanted to put it there. So I put the bottom part, but then I used the ruler in another part, and it looks kind of weird, but I didn't want to like not put it there because it came out cute. Like the holder part, it came out cute. So I just tucked it in this ruler. I made those like foldable rulers, and then I cut on the side of them so that I can use it as little pockets. This is a chisel, and I put it in front of this pocket. I used like a hole punched from that cardboard, and then I used those as screw heads. See, that's that ruler that I was supposed to use on the other square, but I like how it looks here. It holds my other foldable there in, and I wanted to kind of have the rulers all together. I mean, and they are together in the signature, but these two, like the square and the regular ruler, together. And I made a big ruler in the back and a foldable ruler in the front. The chisel is just cool, just hanging in there, you know what I mean, like chilling amongst the rules. And in the back I made this little booklet, and it's all out of graph paper. I did kind of a little bit of tea staining it. Because I started with this, I kind of just sprinkled some coffee on there, but I wasn't really enjoying it, so I stopped doing it, and that's why you see that none of the other paper have it. And this little draft, like a little draft notebook, is attached to the back of the signature, and it all comes out, so you can play with it, work with it, replace it, put it somewhere else. But that whole like kind of holder, it's clear off. You can glue it, or you can use it as an extra pocket, or you know what, you could even Velcro it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you can, please consider subscribing to my Patreon page. Oh, by the way, this is my maker's label, and you could put screw heads on here. But anyways, like I was saying, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Those thumbs ups really helps my channel grow. It really lets other people know that I'm here, and it lets me know you guys love me back. Love you guys. I love that you guys love what I do. All your comments are always very encouraging, and I love to read all of them. Remember to please subscribe if you haven't to this channel. Hit the bell so that you guys can be notified when I get new content, since I'm not so consistent. I try to put it up on the weekends, but sometimes it's difficult because of work. But I love you guys, and until next time, stay crafting and stay safe. Okay, bye guys.